Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Good morning, Arizona. This is Alex Juarez welcoming you to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. Is it hot enough for you guys out there? Hope you guys are staying hydrated, cool enough, and hang in there. We have a long summer still to go, but things are heating up, and we are having a great time with the show, David. This week, David, we were on Horizonte with Jose Cardenas. That was a great opportunity for AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, to talk about the mural, the platform, the social media platform. We just launched our video on our Facebook page, so please go to our Facebook page, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Watch the video of the mural being painted, some of the staff members from AARP talking about the project, the platform. So a lot of things happening here. We have a great show prepared for you on financial stability, financial planning, which is something that we as Hispanics need to do a much better job on it. For those that are interested in calling today to the station and talking to our experts, it's 602-759-1910. Visit our Facebook platform, AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, and listen to us on 1190 AM. So, David, our show today, financial planning.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. This is David Parra with AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We have a great show today, and you know, the objectives of this platform are threefold. One is to educate. I think we need lots of education, and we enjoy it too. And then the second objective is to celebrate. So we educate on Latino issues. We celebrate. We have begun to celebrate our leaders, people who have served, our state for many, many years. We started with Raul H. Castro. And next week, we're going to be bringing the historian from Post 41. We are going to, highlight their contributions, because I did a little bit of research on Post 41. They're just amazing. And the third point that we will be doing in this platform is connecting. I believe there's a great need for Latinos, and my dream is to connect people from all over the state, from the Yuma area, the Nogales, the Douglas, and the Pima County, Tucson, and all that area, and obviously Maricopa County. So that's the threefold purpose of this platform. We're very excited, and today the subject is financial security from the womb to the tomb. And it's very interesting, this subject. I kind of asked my colleagues to see if they felt it was a good title. And we all kind of felt that it was good. And the reason why, I had a conversation with my son. He's 23 years old. He's just married. He first went to ASU, got his education, got a job. He got married. And then not so long ago, he said, "Dad, I checked in my insurance coverage, and I believe it's going to cost me about $3,500 to have my first baby." And that kind of, as a father, I felt very, very happy that here's a 23-year-old guy thinking about budgeting and planning on how much it's going to cost him. Of course, he has insurance. If he didn't have insurance, most likely it'll be way more than that. And then I had another conversation with Molly De Leon. I'm sure many who are joining this program know who Molly is. She couldn't be here because she went to San Diego for some family function, and she used to work for I think, in funeral services. And so here you have a young person talking about a kid, and then my conversation with Molly talking about funeral services. And it's unbelievable how stressful it could be if a loved one dies and you're not prepared. you haven't bought the land and you haven't prepared for funeral services, it could be very expensive. So that's where the thought of from the womb to the tomb comes from. In other words, financial security involves our whole life, since we are born and then when we pass. And today we have invited several guests, but so far we have, I'm sure that the other two are on their way. Sandra Saenz. Did I get it right?
Perfect.
Sandra Saenz is with Trellis. And why don't you, Sandra, first of all, welcome and thank you very much for taking 2 to 3 hours of your Saturday to devote it to communicating with our community and sharing good information. Thank you for that. And if you can just tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do, and then we're going to jump into the subject. Go ahead.
Great. I'm so excited. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm very passionate about our future and planning, and specifically the Hispanic market. I think it's something that it's not one of our strong suits. We have a lot of strong suits, Hispanics, we're great entrepreneurs. We live in the moment. We're very creative. But as far as financial planning or long-term planning, that's not our strong suit, and there's several reasons for that, and I will give some of that information. So my name is Sandra Saenz. I'm from Texas originally. I've lived in the Valley about 7 years. I lived in Europe for 20.
Wow.
I've been to 32 countries.
Wow.
Physically.
She has traveled the world.
Not on
that's for
internet,
sure.
but my body has been there.
I have to talk to you about that
be
experience. Hopefully we'll have a coffee one day. I mean, it'll be interesting to learn about what you learn in
I did. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself,
Wow.
but I learned a lot about other cultures.
Was that job related or personal?
Absolutely,
Good.
yeah.
Okay.
It's all work related, but it affects you on a personal level so much. It affects your viewpoint and your mindset.
Okay.
And how it's related to our topic today is that many cultures, the Egyptian culture, for example, think about it. They start planning their tomb, their retirement from the day that they know the soul is coming into the world.
Wow.
Isn't it interesting?
That's amazing.
It's very
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that concept came from.
So you
Did you
see?
look it up, David?
Yeah.
No.
When I saw your title, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
I thought, well, the Egyptians do it. How
Egyptians?
come we're not doing it?
Yeah.
Well, we need to do a better job.
Yeah,
of
because
letting
they feel they have a better life in the afterlife. And who knows? There may be more fiestas over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So my name is Sandra Saenz. I work for Trellis, which used to be Neighborhood Housing Services of Phoenix. They've been around 42 years. We've helped over 35,489 homeowners since our inception.
So that used to be NHS, right?
Yes.
Neighborhood Housing Services.
Correct.
Very
So
good.
they've been in the Valley helping people in Maricopa County for over 4 decades.
Wow.
We have 3 divisions. The first one is in education and counseling, where we have group courses, and we have one-on-one counseling, all in both languages, in English and in Spanish. All of our counseling sessions are free of charge. They involve all of the phases of planning, purchasing, and even a lot of financial planning. What is your budget? How do you improve your credit score? What are the different steps? And I'll give you some statistics about where our mentality is with regards to the Hispanic market and even our youth, millennials, right? We have a lending department. We're the only nonprofit housing agency in the entire state of Arizona that has their own mortgage banking division. So you can go get a loan there for your house. I can go get a loan.
Wow.
You guys can go get a loan.
Even if you already have a home?
Yeah,
Wow.
we do refinancing.
Oh, my goodness.
So people could go and get their homes refinanced as well. First-time home buyers is our specialty. We just had an event Thursday where we had a really good turnout for it's called Talk to Trellis. We're going to do those quarterly. So people can just have a conversation, sort of like what we're doing now.
Right.
They can ask anything they want to know about any phases of home ownership, down payment assistance, any resources. There's so many resources available in our state that people are not familiar with.
Yeah.
Sandra, how do they contact, if somebody's watching the show or listening to it, how do they contact
Thank you.
Trellis?
Yes, so our website is www.trellisaz.org.
TrellisAZ.org. Okay.
TrellisAZ.org. That's also our Facebook page. It's very active. I put events and our classes. We have orientation classes twice a month. They're in the evening, 6 o'clock. They're free.
Yeah.
And you come and find out about all the resources that may be available to you.
And you know, Sandra and Alex, one of the things that, I've been traveling a lot in the community and doing it. I actually do finances 50 plus, very basic budgeting,
Yes.
and then how credit works, et cetera, and savings.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've learned is that we're not planning, right? But let me even go, even before then. If you don't have money, there's really not a lot that you can do. So you really have to have money to make ends meet and some extras to be able to do something and to have more security in your finances. And without an education, so I have a little note that says that financial security starts with a good education, and this is the foundation for good jobs that pay well, and offer benefits such as vacation, sick leave, 401k plans, and pensions. Some still do, very few. And then a good job is the foundation for having financial security for the present and the future. So definitely we cannot overlook the fact that education will give you the better chances of getting a good job that pays well. And, a lot of times, if you don't mind, why don't we address the issue of, first of all, we've already talked about education, and then let's assume that people have done the good education, have a job. But I think that the issue of saving for retirement, why don't we tackle that just a little bit? Not a lot of companies nowadays are offering like 401ks, retirement plans. And we are very fortunate, Alex, that AARP does. They offer a 401k and then even a pension.
Yeah, we just did a study recently on Work and Save, and there's a very large percentage of organizations or companies that can't afford to offer a 401k plan. That's why AARP is trying to lobby a bill for Work and Save, where the state, it would be a state-ran plan, but the small business in Arizona would be able to provide that 401k type of plan, or retirement planning, because many folks don't have that opportunity.
Right.
So it is very important to start thinking about retirement at a young age.
Right. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'll go into in a minute, with our culture. Yes, part of it is education. The other part is just the familiarity of what those plans are, like just knowing, just being aware what they are.
Exposure.
It's exposure and awareness. It's very interesting. I read an article in Forbes. I want to share these statistics with you because I was so surprised. Of the 50.5 million Hispanics in the United States, a tiny 10% have even thought about their retirement, what they need for retirement. The average is 35%, which is still not high. The average people in the world that are non-Hispanic is 35%, compared to us that is 10%. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. And unfortunately, we're going to have to go to a break pretty soon. So when we come back, let's pick it up on that topic.
Okay.
Why Hispanics don't start planning, and don't start saving money at a young age,
and how they can start doing it, and that's what we're going to address.
Absolutely. So we'll pick it up right back. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. You're listening to us on 1190 AM, and please make sure you like us, you follow us on Facebook on AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We will be right back.
Welcome to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
David, let's pick up the topic again on the importance of planning, and especially within the Latino community.
Yeah. So again, what we want to do now in this segment is to share some concepts as to how this looks, How does it look to build security around finances, Sandra? How does it look? How do we start? And what are the components, the elements, the thoughts that we have to kind of begin this process?
Right. Well, part of it is being aware of your needs and wants and what your expenditures are. Many people, if you ask them, they have no idea. We have financial literacy classes. It's a one-day class, $25. We have them in English and in Spanish.
So this is basically understanding budget, right?
Right.
How much money you're making, how much money you're spending, and knowing exactly those
Where.
numbers. Because a lot of times, if we don't, we just spend money like crazy, and
That's
then
right.
and then we get in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very
And then we
interesting.
depend on credit,
That's right.
and then we get deeper into trouble.
Especially in the United States,
Right,
you know, credit
right.
is such a big component. It's not the same in other countries, but here it is, and it's actually a very important component that can be used in a positive way. So yes, the first thing is to have clarity
Right.
of where your money is going, how much you make, and what your expenditures are. We have an exercise that we do in the class. And of those expenditures, which ones are needs, are mandatories. In the business world, we call them mandatories. And which was our wants. And
That's
it's
important.
super interesting. So
Because if we're going to get
Starbucks
cuts,
3
it's going to
times
have
a
to
week.
be on the wants, not
That's
on the
right.
needs. The needs is no way around it. You need to pay your mortgage, you need to pay your car payment, etc. But the wants, I think that's where the area of potential cuts-
Disaster, yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the area of potential savings also,
Right.
by the way.
One thing to think about here is in the past, in school, there used to be an economics class where they taught us how to do budgets,
Yes.
how to write a check.
Yeah.
Right.
My daughter is 21 years old. She's in college. She has no idea how to write
No,
a check.
that's
She's
right.
never used a check in her life. Probably doesn't know how to balance
A checkbook. Right.
So
And many times that's because with online banking, typically that
everything
is done for you. Yes,
Absolutely.
That's
yes.
right.
But I think it is important to learn how to do that in order to do what Sandra is talking about, do a budget at home. A
Right.
budget.
And you know, it's
Be
interesting.
aware, yes.
My daughter is struggling these days because she wants to buy a car.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's struggling, and I love that she's struggling because she's budgeting.
Well,
You know, it's not that she doesn't have the money, but she's thinking, you know, should I buy it? How
Yeah.
much? Should I finance money? Should I save more and buy it cash? That's what we want people to start thinking, to start
Yeah.
budgeting, to start
That's
thinking about how to best use your finances.
Yeah, your kids are ahead of the game, it sounds like. I mean, what was he, 26, 23?
But my daughter's 26 and my son is 23, and I have
Yeah.
a 15-year-old. And you know, one of the things that I say is that I feel so fortunate that my kids have listened to me.
Yeah,
That's-
sounds like it.
And they did it freely. I did not force them. And it's very important for kids to listen to the parents because my father never made more than $15 an hour. And my father-in-law, he was a mariachi, but he also had these other jobs. And he raised 11 kids. My dad raised 9 kids, and now they're in retirement and they're okay. They're doing well. So how did they manage to do it?
Yeah,
Right.
It is possible.
It's possible, but it's better to do it in proactive planning mode.
Right,
It's
right.
less painful, let's
Right.
put it that way. And you can have many more of the things that you want than if you do it in reactive mode. And
So budget is
most of us-
critical.
Budget is critical.
Like point A.
Point A. For example, I went to take photographs and things at the financial literacy class, meet the trainer. As I was there, I took notes. She said, your car payment, for example, should never be more than 17% of your total net income.
Net, okay.
People were figuring it out. Usually it's over 30% what people, especially these young people, what they're paying on their car
Right.
with what they're making. So
Repeat that figure again, Sandra.
17%. That was one person's
17%
evaluation.
of the net.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's not very high.
are we doing?
You have $400 car payments if you're making $1,000 a month.
How are we
That's the
doing with
point.
credit? Are we abusing it? How are we doing with
Yeah.
credit? 'Cause that seems to be a big problem with us. You know, some people, as in our culture, we celebrate quinceañeras. We celebrate a lot of things, and when you don't have money, what do? We go to plastic,
Right.
and that becomes a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not just a problem in our culture, it's a problem
Right.
within the United States.
Definitely.
It's a very good point you bring it up.
Yes.
So we spend a lot of time, probably the majority of the time, is on your budget, your budget for your life plan, your budget for your home ownership, like
Okay.
how long is it going to take you, so that you are comfortable and ready, because we believe in sustainability,
Right.
and ready to make those house payments and everything that comes with that responsibility.
Right.
And credit. Credit is huge. A lot of people have not established it, or they have bad credit,
credit.
or they don't know how to build credit,
course, of
which is through your employment, through actually having credit cards, having sustainable, consistent payments. It's not that hard to do. We just had an incident just this week. I got the email of somebody that started counseling with us in March, and they weren't, their credit was 600 and something. It wasn't quite ready yet. And within 90 days, which was this month in June, they were ready and qualified for their first home.
Right.
So that involves a lot of things, writing letters, making certain payments, having certain ratios, and so we guide people step by step through that. So,
So again,
credit is critical. You're right.
So you have a job.
Yes.
Hopefully, you have a 401k to contribute for your retirement. And then the next thing you said was that we need a budget. We
Yes.
need to be, to write it down, the needs and the wants, to know how much money comes in, how much money goes out. And then we also have to be careful with the credit card, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of times there tends to be a situation where, okay, I don't have money for it, but guess what? I can pay with credit. And that starts kind of like a cycle that could really get us in trouble.
Yes,
Yeah.
so many people.
Right.
And it happens to a lot of people, and I have to say, educated or not, it
Right,
happens,
right.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's a book called the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, Stephen Covey. And then his following book was The Eighth Habit. And in the because we have sequels, because we're Americans, so we have to have, sequels of everything, books, movies, right? And in The Eighth Habit, there's a statistic about business executives, because I do coaching and workshops for business executives. 18% of business executives do not, or are the only ones, 18% are the only ones that focus on their priorities. So that was very interesting to me from an educational standpoint, because they're educated. Means they
Right.
make good money,
Right.
Because you're an executive. So why is only 18% of your time focused on your priorities? So
go ahead,
we're
Alex.
in reactive mode. Instead, we didn't plan ahead. And you think the higher up you go in the success ladder, the corporate ladder, the better you are in focusing on priorities. Not necessarily. Why? Because you have a lot of other responsibilities, other people that you manage. You have more money. You have a lot of other commitments. So you tend to go into reactive mode, putting out fires instead of focusing on your priorities. And that's a mentality that needs to be taught more, infused in the Hispanic culture, so that we can be in planning and proactive mode and be more at peace versus reacting to, se ponchó la llanta, I have a flat tire and I don't have insurance. Now what do I do?
What do you do?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to think ahead.
Yes, because when we're in panic, reactive mode, we don't always make the best decisions for
And Sandra,
ourselves.
you mentioned a book, but you are
Yeah.
a writer too. You've written a book, and in
Yeah.
that book you talk about planning.
Yes.
How can people find that book? Can you talk a little bit
Thank
about
you.
that
Yes.
book?
It's called Bring Your A Game, because everybody has an A game and most people are not bringing their A game. The first chapter is about strategic planning, having a strategy. I love baseball, so I use baseball analogies all the time. When do you know if you're on first? When do you know if you've hit a home run? When are you really bunting and you're not supposed to bunt?
Is that the concept you use in your book?
Yes, it is.
Wow, that's good.
And in relation to your tagline, celebrating, and are you celebrating your successes? A lot of times we beat ourselves up. We're the hardest on ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
We really are. Oh, I should have already done this. I should have already had the car paid off, whatever. So we need to celebrate our successes for the MVP, which is yourself.
We have a message here on Facebook. Jacob Barra has read some of those books there, so we're glad to
Nice.
know that. How can they find that book? real
Yeah,
fast?
Bring Your A Game. It's on Amazon.com. Bring Your A Game by Sandra Sines.
Excellent.
I have a series of CDs also on my website, Dream Team Community. communications, you can buy it.
You know, we have about a minute and a half to go to on our next break, but I want to just touch on something that I think is super important. When budgeting, when spending, your image is very important. A lot of times people, they have to know, what image do I want to give society? Because a lot of times you feel like you want to drive a Mercedes-Benz or what is the other car, Beamers, the Beamers, and it's up to you.
Right.
What kind of image, what kind of perception do you want to give to people? So that's going to determine what car you drive, what kind of home you buy. Do you want to live in this place, this huge home pool, this and that? So that, I think, as human beings, we have to come to grips with who are you, what satisfies you, because if you feel that you want to give a certain image, it's going to cost you. And there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's free to have their own image. That's perfectly fine. But just, it's going to cost you. So I think that's an area that sometimes we feel that mi compadre has a brand new car, so I have to buy a brand new car. My comadre bought this new thing, so I have to do it. That kind of thing a lot of times hurt us in finances. We have to go on break, and before we do, we want to welcome Lupe Solis and Saul Solis, and we'll pick up on the conversation on the next segment. Thank you for joining. Lupe worked for ARP for, 10, 12 years, Lupe? And then Saul was a principal of a high school, or what? A high school?
Elementary
school? Elementary school, where?
In various places.
In various places. So we'll get to that in just a bit. You're tuned in to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We're talking about financial security from the womb to the tomb. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We're talking about financial security from the womb to the tomb. And Lupe and Saul, anyone, I've known you for a long time, and actually I always say, Lupe, you have been a great mentor to me, and thank you so much for all your support. And you're both retired. You're no longer working. And so,
Thank God.
so from your perspective, how have you seen the issue of financial security in our community, in your own lives, in your own kids, just in general? Can you share just your thoughts about financial security?
Well, obviously it's preparation, but like they say, you always think about it after it happens. So
Yeah.
that's not the point. The point is that we try to tell our children who are younger, get ready. Get ready, because if you don't, you will regret it later. And oftentimes people think, oh, I have to save a lot of money, and that's not really true.
That's right.
The compounding does work, and so as long as you get in the habit of putting something
Yes.
down for yourself, saving before you spend it, then that will grow into the position where you're in a position to say, oh, this works. Now I can do a little bit more because I'm in a little better financial situation. But I'm glad to say, for example, our youngest daughter and her husband recently attended a financial workshop. It's a spiritual workshop, but it's also a financial preparedness workshop.
Nice.
And they are sticking to it, doing a budget, which is important, knowing where your money was. And recently we were reminded by our own financial planner that you need to know where you spent your money, because sometimes it comes in and it just kind of goes out.
That's right. That's where the needs and wants came
And
in.
you don't
Absolutely.
realize, where it went.
And Lupe, you talked about something really important. You mentioned a very important word, compounding. Yesterday I was talking to my brother Rick, and we were just talking about the importance of starting young, at a young age. So I personally have my son. He's got 529 education account. My daughter had them as well. We opened up just this week mutual funds for my son with the money that he's making.
Nice.
But the importance of that compounding, it may take 5 years for him to see his account start growing, but the importance of putting money away at a young age is critical.
Yes.
Very important. So that's what we need to understand as a community, a Hispanic community, is that we have to start at a young age in order to build. By the time you're 50, 60 years old, you should be sitting in a good place if you were disciplined
Yes.
enough to start saving. And like Lupe said, you don't have to put a lot of money. Maybe a lot of people can't afford to put 5%, 6% of their check.
Right.
But if you start with a small portion of money, $10, $20, whatever the amount is,
Yeah.
that's going to start compounding, building up.
And it's easier the earlier you start because then it's a habit. So you don't
It
even
becomes a
feel
habit.
it.
Exactly.
You don't
You don't
even
feel it.
feel that
Absolutely.
$50 a month or whatever it is.
And it really is amazing what a little difference it makes. Sometimes, you go through life and things happen. You lose a job or something, God help us, somebody dies and that sort of thing. And it makes you realize that preparedness is really the key to everything.
Yes.
A little bit of foresight so that you're not always, as my husband saying, looking back, we should have done this. We should, in a way, for example, in our situation, we were very lucky to have positions that had pensions.
Right.
Nowadays, very few people have pensions.
Right.
Right.
And so they have to learn to utilize their 401ks. And it's not always available.
Right.
Right. So we have to do it on our own.
I'm Saul, and we're talking about financial planning, but I'd like to go back to my father, where he always told us how important it was to get an education. And so we're 7 in our family, and we all got an education, for the exception of 2 going, and then I mean going to university.
Okay.
And my father helped us, paid for all of us, and his job wasn't that much earning that he did, but he saved, and that's what he imposed on us: save your money.
Right.
But as we, Lupe and I got married, and we kept on going and so forth, I started realizing when it was time to retire that it was only like 3 or 4 years that I started planning my retirement. And I didn't realize that you needed more time to plan the
And to save.
retirement. And the saving, Sandra is talking about priorities, and I use the word hindsight. Hindsight about saving and also what you want to do. And where I was working many years ago, there were properties there that we always talk and say, man, if we can't have, well, where was our hindsight there? And so because of that, I am talking with my family members of the importance of pensions and the importance of the 401k. And I always tell my kids, do not spend your 401k. That's your retirement. Do not touch it.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Of course.
And I always talk with them about that.
And with our young people today, there's peer pressure. Financially speaking, there's
Right.
peer pressure. Again, I keep going back because I'm envisioning the young people, my friend, my compadre, my comadre, bought this new thing, so I can't stay behind. I have to get it. So again, budgeting, it's kind of grounds you so that you know what you want, how you envision your life, your standard of living according to your means. How do you envision your retirement? It's a lifelong planning, and but again, it's good. I mentioned image earlier, which is another way of saying that is peer pressure.
Right.
But how about, we live in a society of instant pleasure. Enjoy it now, live now, forget about the future. That's not going to work. That is not going to cut it if we think like that. And another thing is that in our system, we are always and constantly being pushed to spend. That's just a fact of life. It's a peer pressure, and then the economic pressure of just just buying the new this and the new that. So again, it's gonna take a person to say, wait a minute, what do I want? What is my budget? Can I live within my means? Can I have that? Can I plan for that? It's fine to have whatever you want, but it's better if you plan for it and you budget for it.
That's right.
Then you won't end up with a problem.
And here's the good news.
False mindset of Social Security.
Right.
Because many people think, oh, that's okay, I'll have Social
not
Security to
enough.
retire.
Yeah.
We can't rely on
And let's say a little bit of that. Social Security, by the way, this is another important point, that as we start working, we automatically begin to contribute because the employer retains 6.2% of our salaries. 6.2 goes to Social Security, 1.45 goes to Medicare. So right off the bat, we're already, whether you know it or not, you're already planning for retirement, right? And those that are self-employed, they contribute in a different way, but still, they contribute. We need 40 quarters or 10 years of employment to qualify for Social Security. But Social Security will consider a formula that will use your 35 most productive years to calculate your benefit. So if you only work 10 years, you're not going to get a lot of money. If you only work 20 years, you're not going to get a lot of money. Or if you only make a minimum wage salary, you're not going to, get a big check from Social Security. But regardless of how much it is estimated that Social Security will only provide you with 1/3 of the money that you will need in retirement years. Therefore, you need income from other sources.
Right.
And these other sources could be a 401k, an IRA. We haven't talked a lot about an IRA, but an IRA is individual retirement account that a bank institution can offer to you. And those are the kind of common ones. I'm sure there are other,
other types of investments.
of course.
Properties,
In a home.
houses.
A home is an amazing,
investment.
an investment.
A home is
Definitely.
an investment.
David, you talked about the pressures of needing spending, and I'm thinking that there is a different kind of a pressure, and that's owning your American dream, buying a house.
Okay.
And
Right.
this is where I talk with my children that yes, you have the pressure of wanting to own your American dream. Still, don't take it out of your 401k.
Okay,
Because that
okay.
is happening. They take,
Wow.
And they take
Really?
money out of the American.
Now, what happens when you take the money
And
out?
they don't need to do that. They don't
You
realize
pay,
it.
You pay a penalty.
Yes.
Not only do you pay a penalty, but more often than not, and this happened a lot in the 2008 era, people would take out money out to buy homes they really could not afford at all.
Right.
To sustain, at payments that were so
Too high.
too high for them.
Interest rates high.
Right. I remember. This is a story I like to tell. My son was young then, and he was working, and he had his first job, and he wanted to own a place. So he's out buying and shopping, and every weekend he would call us, "Come see this, come see that." And there were apartments, basically townhouses. And because of the rush for buying in those days, remember, we would get to a place, and literally we would walk in, and the place was worth maybe 190. By the time we walked out, somebody had offered 225,
Right.
40. And he said, "Well, I can afford it because he says, I'm qualified." And I said, "Really? For how much, mijo?" 300,000. I thought, oh my God, with your salary, you're qualified.
Yeah.
So, based on what he was earning, in our view, he couldn't handle it.
This is where the
But somebody had told him
percentages
he
come in.
could.
Yes.
And so thank God we were there with him all along, because we said, that's not doable. You
Yeah.
have to think about your whole life. You have to eat. You have to have a
Right.
transportation.
Right.
And luckily he heard us, and he listened, and he was wise enough to buy what he could
Good.
afford, which right now that he's married, he and his wife own their home, and it's become the beginning of additional income
Right.
for
Right.
their retirement. Because the thing that you don't realize, and I think most of us don't, is that time goes on no matter what you're doing. And so start now, start to save. The other thing that's very important is good credit, and if you have it, protect it, and if you don't,
build it. Yeah, fix it and build it.
Absolutely. We are going to have to go on break in just a couple seconds. When we get back, we'll pick up the important conversation. I was just looking at some of the priorities and rankings of Hispanics compared to the general population and how we compare savings for retirement. We're around 53% compared to general population, 62%. Every single ranking, we're behind general market in savings and planning.
Right.
We need to change that.
Right.
You're listening to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, on 1190 AM or on Facebook Live. Stay on, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thank you so much.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is David Parra with AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We have Sandra Sainz with us. We have Saul Solis and Lupe Solis and my co-host Alex Juarez. We are addressing a very, very important issue, which is finances. Finances has an effect on our present and our future like no other thing. I think I even say that a lot of times divorces in a big part are due many times to finances because they just cannot be on the same page, and it is a big deal. So again, we will be bringing issues like this in this platform, and this is just the beginning. This is just an introduction.
Right.
We have
Just a taste.
We have 52 programs, and we're going to bring a variety of issues. The subject today is financial security from the womb to the tomb. And I say to the tomb because a lot of times, you know, you never think that one day we're gonna die, and we're gonna need funeral services, and we're gonna need a place to be buried. And I was talking to again Molly De Leon, and she was telling me that on average on the lower end, it costs about $12,000 to die pretty much. So I said, you know, this is an issue that a lot of times we don't talk about. I myself, I told my wife the other day, dear, do you know that we might have to need like 40,000 to die? You 20 and I 20, and I'm already there. I'm going on 52, so I'm already planning for retirement. Trust me, I'm already planning. I'm looking ahead. So I think the next thing I need to do is and I should have done it because my dad already he bought two lots, and then you did too. Yeah. And then they are already thinking about buying the funeral services even before that happens. And I mean, I don't know. This is amazing that we're talking about this. So, again, just to recap,
we're living longer.
Yes.
Demographically, we're older.
Right. So education is important because that will give you a good job. Good job will bring you the benefits, a 401k, and if you don't have a 401k, you can do an IRA. Then you come to the point of doing a budget, make sure you stay within your means. And then comes home ownership. Home ownership is very important because if you rent all that money, you'll never see again. But with buying a home, the equity is built, and hopefully you'll be able to pay off your home by the time you retire, which is my plan.
Yes.
And then you go on retirement without that bill, right? And then hopefully that home might allow you with the equity and everything to buy a second home as an investment.
We see it all the time.
Right.
Now.
So that's again, this is financial security. This is how we build it. Correct, Sandra?
Correct. And when we talk to people, I am really lucky because I get to interview the people that have just closed on their homes, and I ask them all kinds of questions. And just last month, interviewed a single dad, a single father, and I said, so how has this changed your life now that you moved into your home? And he said something super direct, simple, and profound. And he said, I can sleep better.
Wow.
I'm sleeping better because financial security gives you peace.
Definitely.
So when we're talking to someone especially between the ages of 28 to 34, and we talk about retirement, we talk about, financial planning, they don't really want to hear that because it seems so far away, right? So we need to motivate people by telling them the reality, which is if you start now and have clarity where your money is going, you actually, those wants and those needs, you can satisfy more of those wants if you're investing your money properly.
Right.
instead of being in reactive mode. You can have more of those
Right.
wants and be more at peace
Yeah.
and be more, like you said, grounded. I love that
Right.
word, grounded.
Yeah.
Because
You know-
most of us are not, and they're worrying about the image.
Right.
So what do you want to do? We go through different phases in life, right?
Right.
There's a book by Wayne Dyer, and he talks about these phases, and when people are teenagers, they're in the athlete phase. The athlete, what does the athlete do? They're always trying to push the limit
Right,
and
right.
impress everybody and
Right,
win
right.
all the gold medals. And then as we get older, we're more in the diplomat phase. The diplomat phase is when you want to contribute more to your community, to your children, to society, right? So we want to be more in that phase where you have more peace, you're more grounded, and you do things for what you can do versus to impress others. So are you going to live for others, or are you living for yourself? I want to live for myself.
That's true. But you know what is also very important is and you talked about generosity.
Yes.
It's my belief that when you're generous to others,
Yes.
whether even financially, something happens. But you know, in my case, I'm a faithful person, so God returns
Yes.
tenfold.
Yes.
Tenfold. And it's amazing because I do tell my children, I said, you know, no matter where you are and what need you have, if you have a generous heart, it will come to you from somewhere that you don't
100%.
even expect. 100%.
It's an
And
energy exchange.
it
Money
is-
is
it
energy.
really is.
So you need to keep going back to your point about compounding interest.
Right.
Money, everything's energy. What we're saying today is energy. It's getting out there, right?
Absolutely.
Money is energy. So if you invest it and put it out there, it's working for you. The money's working for
Yeah,
you
it is. It is.
instead of you spending it. Then it's just away from you instead of
And-
working for you.
And the
It's your
reality
energy.
is that in today's economy, people are going to people are going to use credit no matter what.
Right.
They need to learn to use it wisely.
Yes.
One thing that a lot of people don't understand is that if you have good credit, you actually are on the driver's seat.
Absolutely.
You can call a bank and say, this is too high an interest that you're charging me.
And they will lower it.
And they will lower it. They will actually, you can call a company and say, you're charging me too much and I'm thinking of going somewhere else.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's a good assignment
you
for
will
everybody that's
negotiate.
listening.
Yeah.
Call all your credit cards seriously.
Yeah.
If you have 4 of them will lower your
lower.
credit just by you calling. A lot of people don't know that. Call today, and that would be super interesting if next Saturday people would call in and tell us what happened.
Yeah.
And they will lower your credit because it's very competitive.
And not only that, but in
It's
today's
empowering.
market, because it is so competitive, there's so many people, if you have good credit, as I said
Yeah.
before, they're offering
like
you
it.
this no interest for for this long or that long. Now, don't get into debt just to take advantage of that.
Right.
But if you're in a position where you can actually pay a higher cost debt with no interest for 1 year, do it.
Do
Take
it and
advantage
get,
of it.
get
Do
it
it
off
because
your
your
plate.
money goes a lot
Absolutely.
further.
Can we go back to the topic
Yes.
of home ownership?
Yes.
And something very important here, maybe that you can talk on, Sandra, to
Yes.
especially the young generation.
Yes.
Rental compared to ownership.
Yeah.
Especially with the Generation X and Generation Y, from what I understand, is that many of them are not going into home ownership immediately.
Yes.
They wait longer.
Correct. There's a
That,
myth.
that's something that probably needs to be more education on.
That's right. And our Hispanic market, especially Hispanic millennials, is one of the fastest growing markets in the Valley. I'm on the board of the East Valley Hispanic Chamber, and Univision just did a presentation for us a couple of weeks ago on the growth of the Latino market. So it's 54% are not prepared at all. We're not prepared with our budgets. 57% have never even calculated, never even thought about it. That's a kind of a
That's sad.
big number. Yes, but we're growing. We have the largest percentage of people per household, and we also have the largest percentage of how many children per household, right? So I just at this event we just had on Thursday night, I invited some of our guests that have closed on homes, and all of them were under 30. One girl, her name is Star Martinez. She's 27. She's a single mom. She just closed on her first home. She's been in it a year. So we coach sustainability. So I always say we create happy homeowners, which means they can afford it.
Right.
And they're in a payment that they're comfortable
That's
with.
essential.
That it's essential not to get into a loan that you can't afford. And she was I said, so what is it that motivated you to buy a house instead of just renting an apartment, right? She works at Aetna, has a little girl whose name is Lily, she's 5. And she said, well, first of all, we were living in the back of someone's home. We were renting a room, and I don't want my little girl to grow up going in through the back door. That was the headline of the article. Second, she said, I checked into apartments, and I'm paying less than $900 for my home, where I would have paid over $1,200 for an apartment. So people don't know that owning a home is an investment, and that there is a lot of resources available in this state
To be able to get into one.
Another thing people don't know, because they think, oh, well, I'm not a first homeowner. I bought one home and I got into debt, and so I don't qualify for these special programs. Anybody who hasn't owned a home for 3 years is considered a first-time homeowner.
Wow.
That's very important to know.
Good to know.
There's all kinds of this girl Star, because she's a single mom and she is a first-time homeowner, qualified for over $20,000 in down payment assistance with different programs. So we do something called layering, because we're a mortgage banker too. So they can take monies from one grant and another one and put them all together, and you can use 2 or 3 to have your down payment.
Wow, what a conversation. I am very, very happy. We're coming to a close in a couple minutes, and this is amazing. So just to wrap it up, again, education is key.
Yes.
That'll give you a good job. The good job, hopefully, will have a 401k. If not, think about an IRA. Then think about budget.
Yes.
Immediately, we strongly recommend that a college student, as soon as they graduate, even before, as soon as you can, but before 25, hopefully, take some literacy classes.
Yeah, take a financial literacy
Definitely,
class.
it is critical,
We have
critical,
them.
critical, because you got ready, you got a good education, you're now making good money, but if you don't manage it well, it'll just fly away. You won't see it. And then hopefully, remember that you're contributing to Social Security, whether you know it or not. You will have a check. Then Medicare is part of the FICA tax that we pay. You have insurance at when you turn 65. So that's financial security. That's kind of like the scope of the.
That's a
And one
base.
more topic
That's right.
that I hate to
Foundation.
talk about this, death, but planning for death. You know,
Right.
just not leaving a huge burden on the family members.
Definitely,
Right.
that's something that.
Very good.
Well, in some maybe because of the myth that we can't plan, we don't have money, blah blah blah. We put that to the end and say, oh, I don't know, Dios me va a ayudar, whatever happens, you know. But no, I think this conversation is so great because we are really addressing issues, and I think our community is ready.
David,
Yes.
could I just say one more thing? Because we're
Yes.
always talking about getting an education and
Right.
how important it is, university and so forth. But what was mentioned here is also getting educated. Go and get some classes on financial
Yeah.
planning.
Yes.
There are many.
Yes.
We have a
people that are
one-day
doing-
class.
yes.
Saturdays, $25.
And you know, Sandra, perhaps you and I can get together
Everyone
to
should
do
take it.
one on Facebook Live, and do one on Facebook Live, because a lot of times people are
I'm
busy.
in.
Let's plan
Or
one and
people
do it
are
Facebook
afraid of
Live.
They think of financial planning as, oh no, I don't have enough money to
Right.
do that.
It's
I know, I've heard
empowering.
that
It's the
already,
opposite.
But it's the opposite.
Right.
You really need to start planning early.
Thank you so very much, Sandra Sainz, Saul Solis, Lupez Solis. Alex, we had a great show, I think.
Great topic.
And I think this is just to whet the appetite. I think
Just the start of it.
lay the foundation. We will continue. So
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone. Our guests, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Everybody watching us, and please help us spread the word on AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Tell your friends about it. Tell them to like us, to follow us. We appreciate that. You're listening to 1190 AM, AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your time.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.